Hello folks, I hope this episode finds you well. Day 21, kicking things off with some talk about settings, and then let me tell you about my character. Enjoy. (21) Share an intriguing detail from a game setting you enjoy. I thought quite a lot about how I answer this question. Initially, I'd thought to speak about the Lost Mines of Phandelver campaign and how I'd expanded on the starter set, introducing some really old material, the likes of the Crypt of Istaris from Dungeon Magazine and the Alfheim setting, the Gazetteer from the Beckme series, the Elven Forests in Mystara. I was inspired by the factions, the Elven clans, 7 Elven clans. So I was going to talk about that. And then I thought, yeah, I've touched on both of those, and I don't know how intriguing that is. So what I've decided to go for is talk a little bit about how myself and DM Ricky have basically got this kind of shared setting, and we play in, I'd say, adjacent regions, and they kind of cross over around Phandalin. His character Artemis is a higher level character who sometimes gets involved when Ricky's running, and then when I'm running I use inspiration from Ricky's game, so we get this nice little interplay. You'd think it would be virtually impossible, but if you've got a big region, I don't think it's too bad, and you get these little Easter eggs that crop up. It can get a little bit complicated, and sometimes you need to kind of perhaps fudge some of the canon a little bit and maybe make a little take a few liberties with the timeline, just to make things work. The other thing I perhaps would touch on is I've noticed I tend to reuse locations quite a lot, and I'm always keeping fronts going. So for example, in Neverwinter Wood there is Cragmore Castle, and the characters kept going back there for various reasons, and it became a sort of a recurring theme, changing hands, restocking, having incursions of Ankegs in there. And I don't know why we kept going back there particularly, but it seemed quite an old school thing to do. And in newer styles of play, I don't know how much typically the current play culture returns to place time and time again. That used to be a bit of a trope of the dungeon crawl. Question 22. Who is your current character? I've got a number of recent characters that I could mention. Lucian Openhand, a 5e pacifist kind of monk. He looks for solutions without actually killing people. He brings them to justice, and he will fight, but his standard MO is not to kill people, and tries to find peaceable solutions. I've also then got a character you can hear in action. Actually, if you listen to Loco Ludus, Barney's put out an episode recently. My character is called Brian Harper, and that's Brian with a soft R. You can call him Bry. And Brian comes from Edgware. He's a taxi driver, and I based him and a couple of characters and a family that I know from out that way. An old buddy of mine when I was a kid had family from out that way, and yeah, real interesting characters. And I got my wife's great uncle. He was also a taxi driver, and I just find such characters in the people that I meet. It's inspiring, and I kind of try and reproduce that in games sometimes. So that's old Broy. My most played character at present is Biff Buckfast. He's a barbarian, an ancestral guardian. He's kind of this halfling that looks a bit like a dwarf because he's so hairy. He wears a beard, and he comes from a place called Turk's Hamlet, which is the creation of DM Ricky, and he is my character. He is the sidekick of a big ogre called Gut, who is played by my son, and we are exploring Barovia. Biff is the character I play in my Curse of Strahd actual plays, which are just recordings of the home game. He is a character I like. He's quite a colourful character, strong-willed, being a barbarian. He gets into these rages, and as an ancestral guardian, he's got this, well, in the fiction we've discussed it and come up with this idea that he's got this band of like ancestral kind of ghosts that almost follow him around, and they come out of the woodwork at interesting times when there's a combat. There may be they kind of squabble amongst themselves, and he talks to them, and they just kind of hang around and cause trouble, and sometimes a little bit of light relief. They also have the effect of distracting his foes, and he's got a little bit of necromantic magic and things like a cantrip called Frostbite, and this is the idea of him being an ancestral guardian. He uses Frostbite in combats, and the way I describe it is these ancestors kind of getting involved, and you get this kind of spirit host moving around, and when they get quite annoyed, they can become a little bit nastier. Rather than their light-hearted selves, they show their darker side a little bit more. So we play with that, and it's been good fun. He's probably my favourite character at the moment, although I do enjoy old Brian Harper, the taxi driver, as well. Question 23. What situation is your character currently in? As I said yesterday, Biff Buckfast is with his buddies exploring Barovia. Biff Buckfast and his buddies in Barovia. There's a little bit of a alliteration for you there. I'm loving the setting. The combination of Biff and the ogre, incidentally comes from a previous adventure where my other character befriended an ogre in the story, and my son was so enchanted with this idea, decided to make a character and use that ogre and that ogre's backstory as the beginnings or the inspiration for this new character. And then the idea is that Biff and Gut are like little and large. They've been going around and they've been doing some fur trading between Phandalin and Turk's Hamlet. Both of these places hooking up with my Phandalin setting, and myself and DM Ricky have got this kind of shared campaign world going on where we operate in slightly different areas, but there is some crossover with characters, crossovers with stories. So his character in my campaign crops up in his games sometimes as a kind of he gives out missions, because he's a bit of a higher level character, and in the local area he's got a little bit of a reputation. So we get this cross-fertilisation of ideas, and it's not something we've particularly worked at, it's just kind of organically happened, and that's quite neat. But we find ourselves in Barovia, and we've got my brother's character, he's playing a cleric called Scion. He's a traveller we picked up on the road. He had a task for us to try and find someone he was looking for. That got us involved in a trip to Barovia. And the thing that I like, or I'm finding particularly interesting about Barovia, is these constant moral dilemmas and the lack of a clear black and white at times. It's very grey. Yeah, it can be quite difficult to know what to do for the best at times. For me, that creates some really interesting decisions, and we've had a lot of role play and really quite a lot less combat. Question 24. When did you start playing this character? We started Curse of Strahd back at some point in January. Arfed had just finished up a campaign using the fan-produced Star Wars 5e rules, where we were adventuring in Bespin, doing a bit of a heist. I created Biff for Curse of Strahd, so he was straight out the gate at level 1, and Gut was his companion from a previous campaign of Rick is an NPC turned player character, and Arfed also started up Scion as a new character for specifically Curse of Strahd. And there you go, that is a wrap. A big thanks goes out to the pit crew, the generous folks supporting my endeavours over on Spike Pit Patreon, and a big thanks goes out to you, the listener, for taking a bit of time out of your day to listen to old Spike Pit. Take care, and I'll catch you later.